of God, Bhagwan entity, और कोई कारण नहीं हमारे पास. So we'll be breaking down this thing, this very conception. Why are we suffering? What is the real reason behind it? So for that, we'll be kind of referring to the manual of life. Anything comes with a manual, right? So we have this manual of life, which is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so we'll be referring the text, or you can say from chapter 13, text number 21. It's a big purport, but then again, we'll read it and then we have quite some time. So I'll try to summarize it up. That will be quite easy. So you'll have to listen very carefully. Okay, this is a long purport. At the same time, it is condensed. Just imagine when you have a milk, you have 4 liters of milk, you condense it, becomes 1 liter. And now that kind of 1 liter thing, you're having 5 liter. So it's such a expansive thing. You're having 5 liters of condensed thing. So usually the purports, normally we are reading theories, they are so light. But here, this is what we are discussing is something from the manual of life, which we are, we all fail to understand. That is, we don't know what is this life, what are we meant to do. Now, this is from the manual about that same life. So something about life which we already don't understand. It's mentioned about that, and that too, it's about the topic which we don't know. It's into 2, it's multiplied by 2. So it's twice as thick to understand. So you all have to pay real attention over here with on each and every word, and on each and kind of just like he was not paying attention, so something happened. Similarly, if you don't pay attention, something might break and then fall. So we'll start reading. कार्यकारण कर्तृत्वे हेतु प्रकृतिरुच्यते पुरुषः सुख दुःखानां भोक्तृत्वे हेतुरुच्यते. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So translation: nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Purport: the different manifestations of body and senses among the living entities are due to material nature. There are 84 lakh different species of life, and these varieties are creations of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of the living entity, who thus desires to live in this body or that. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kinds of happinesses and distress. His material happiness and distress are due to his body and not to himself as he is. In his original state, there is no doubt of enjoyment. Therefore, that is his real state. Because of the desire to lord it over material nature, he is in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no such thing. The spiritual world is pure, but in the material world, everyone is struggling hard to acquire different kinds of pleasures for the body. It might be more clear to state that this body is the effect of the senses. The senses are instruments for gratifying desire. Now, the sum total, body and instrument senses, are offered by material nature. And as will be clear in the next verse, the living entity is blessed or damned with circumstances according to his past desire and activity. According to one's desire and activities, material nature places one in various residential quarters. The being himself is the cause of his attaining such residential quarters and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. Once placed in some particular kind of body, he comes under the control of the nature because of the body. Being matter, acts according to the laws of nature. At that time, the living entity has no power to change that law. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. As soon as he is put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. And if the living entity is put into the body of a hog, then he is forced to eat stool and act like a hog. Similarly, if the living entity is put into the body of a demigod, he must act according to his body. This is the law of nature. But in all circumstances, the supersoul is with the individual soul. That is explained in the Vedas, Mundaka Upanishad, as follows: Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhya Sakhaya. The Supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he always accompanies the individual soul in all circumstances, is present as the Supersoul or Paramatma. ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यदेवं। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So, anyone even registered a single point what was spoken over here in this purport? आपको कुछ भी relevant लगा हो इस purport में से जो भी हम लोगों ने पढ़ा? First of all, is everyone comfortable in English, or is there anyone for whom English is quite troublesome and he needs a bit of Hindi also? No need to be shy, you can raise your hands. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that, it's just a language. Main purpose of this session is so that each and every point is cleared. It's not the language. So I guess everyone understands it, right? So anyone would like to share any one of the points that was discussed in this? Not discussed, we can say that was stated practically. आप में से किसी ने अगर रजिस्टर किया हो तो क्या पर्पट था? That's why you are told to hear carefully, but we are so much focused about only hearing that we didn't retain it. You were just hearing. Yes. We are talking about senses, right? Senses. Okay. Particularly, we are being surrounded by senses. Right? Mm-hmm. And what is us that particularly say pushing us to not surrender. Okay, so one of the responses is that in this verse it is talked about senses. Okay, why we are talking about the senses? Because they are the cause of our present body, right? One of the points. There are multiple points discussed over here, so we'll discuss it now, kind of elaborate on it, not discuss it. We are all here, sitting in this particular room. A few kilometers away is, as you go straight, famous Juhu beach, right? Why do people come there? Why do people come to Juhu beach? Anyone? To enjoy, right? But if everyone, and we also go there, we see people, they're happy and they're kind of enjoying also at the Juhu beach in different manners, that is, right? Everyone is having their own different kind of enjoyment. Someone is just sitting on the shore and looking at the waves coming. Someone is going down and swimming. Now they have provided so much facility also, for enjoyment. They've started those boat rides, jet ski, going inside and stuff, right? So even the government is kind of trying to facilitate the enjoyment of everyone. But do you really think that they are enjoying? Now, first of all, who's coming there for enjoyment? Who are the people, who seek enjoyment? Can anyone say? अगर आपके पास कोई वस्तु है, let's say if you are having something, would you seek it? आप कभी उसके तलाश में रहेंगे, उसको खोजने का प्रयास करेंगे, उसको प्राप्त करने का प्रयास करेंगे? नहीं करेंगे ना? क्यों करेंगे? Why will we do that? Because we are already having, right? We are already having. Why would we do that? So people who have come there, do you think they are happy? They have come in pursuit of happiness, to find happiness. But do you all think they'll find happiness? Because the happiness that they desire is something different. All they can find there is some vendors, some boat rides, sand, water, and just a plain view, normal view, open view, and lots of crowd, especially on Sunday. Right? More people suffering. So similarly, you're all here, if you want to enjoy, people generally think that You go to big famous hill stations, some good destinations like Paris, or I don't know, some European countries, very good with flora and fauna. Nowadays, people are going to Japan and stuff like that. People think that's good, in one sense. But the very population there, they are so much frustrated that they have kind of taken this up that they don't want to produce any children. They don't want them to suffer as much they are suffering. See, the birth rate there is declining. They don't want them to suffer. Or in one of the recent reports which I came across was that they can't afford a child in this age because of inflation. Same thing is happening over here. So one can say, if we try to find happiness, go hither and thither, and we'll try to find it at these places. You see, someone is planning vacations, he'll plan to all these countries. No one is going to plan, a vacation to Israel or Afghanistan or Istanbul, Pakistan. Is anyone here who would like to, if you're given an opportunity to go on vacation, go to these countries? Definitely. You'll go? You'll go? You'll go to Israel. My God. Someone who desires real happiness for preaching, he'll go. He'll not go for personal sense gratification. So anytime, these things are just like ticking time bombs. Anything can happen at any time. Today you'll be going in a plane. We can't trust the plane also. Whether that plane will be reaching Israel or not. And even after reaching Israel, you are not sure whether you'll be reaching the place in Israel where you think you'll find the happiness. In middle you may find, I hope you don't, some messenger of God who's there to send you to Jannat. You're seeking after pleasure, I'll give you eternal pleasure. Go on. Right? So that's the whole point, You never know what is going to happen at the very next step. Right? So this very thing, of enjoyment, you see, was this back in 2010 or 2011, a kind of survey was conducted by one of the universities in London, which is the happiest country, Can anyone say, or not say, let's say कि आप में से कोई guess करे. Can anyone guess which would that country have been? Anyone? Raise your hands. Huh? Singapore or Qatar? Yes. Finland? Yes. Boat? Bhutan. Okay. Oh my God. Bhutta is. Okay. Anyone else? So yes. Nepal and Kathmandu. Anyone else? None of this. It was Bangladesh. Right? Bangladesh. Right now it becomes turbulent. It became turbulent, you can say. But you see, at that time, it was known as a basket country. Basket country, a basket economy, it was said. That no matter how much money you invest there, it is not going to make any effort. Let's say, just like you fill a water in a basket, But what kind of basket? Those wooden basket. It won't hold water. It will just seep. Nothing will happen. But do you know what was the primary reason why they were happy? Because there was hardly any atheist found in that particular country. Or even if there were any, they were closet atheist. You understand the term closet atheist? You see some people, I don't know, right now this might offend the LGBTQ company, or that whole what you got, not company, you can say the whole community. So you see the people who are kind of into these cross dressings and stuff like that, they keep everything in their closet hidden, and when no one is watching, they dress up themselves up, and then in their very room they just fulfill, or you can say fulfill their fantasy. That's their fantasy world, right? So even if there is an atheist, he's a closet atheist. He won't come out in public and he'll say that I'm an atheist. With everyone he'll behave normally. That is very rare. That is very rare. So what is the main thing? From here, one thing is clear, that only economic growth or that economic factor is not the very sole reason for happiness, right? It's a survey conducted by one of the most prestigious nations, England, Britain, or you can call US. These people are doing that. So there you can see people, they do what? They just tolerate. Whatever happens, they learn tolerance from it. They're not someone, who will just fight back things. But at the same time, you see, then there might be question, there are famines there, there are, you can say, droughts. Sometimes, heavy rainfall washes the crops away. And then there is harm of so many things, you can say livestock, you can say the children are suffering. So one question might arise that, that why are these, people suffering? Why are these people suffering? And then again, let's say it is happening with someone who's kind of adult or something like that, who's mature, grown up. But what about the children? What about the animals? You might be seeing so many videos on internet, YouTube, it's coming that, you can save this guy from suffering, you can save this animal from suffering, rescue them, this, that, and everything. So we might question, what is the reason of this suffering? And then if God is there, can't he do something about it to kind of, ease their suffering at least, or make their suffering go away? But God has already done that. What does God do? Can anyone say? What did God do? How can we say that, God has eased up their suffering? I don't see, something which God has done. They are still suffering. Right? The whole point. So then what did God do to think that, God has done something, to ease their suffering? He has given Bhagavad Gita. Right? And in Bhagavad Gita, we come to know who's the cause of our suffering. It's not God, it's we ourselves. Right? Why? What's the reason? Because here you can see in this particular verse, there's this word, bhoktritve. Bhoktritve means in enjoyment, right? Someone who's trying to enjoy. So here, artificially, what we are thinking, that we are enjoyer. And how do we enjoy? Let's say when we want to satisfy this enjoying propensity, what we do is that in our pursuit of enjoyment, we harm someone else. We practically exploit someone else, right? That is one thing. And then in turn, we are gaining so much karma. And again, let's say if you are not harming someone, let's take that case scenario also. The other thing that you can do is you can push it to that extent. Sometimes, people think that if I want to enjoy, you know, or let's say if he is having a tendency to punish someone, so let me punish someone who is eligible for that thing, right? So I might impose suffering upon people who are eligible for it. कि इसने मर्डर किया है ना, इसने 4 मर्डर किया है, मैं इसका मर्डर कर दूंगा, क्या ही दिक्कत है? So no point, you might be reading in newspaper and everything, serial murderers, they are demanding फांसी लगाओ, ये करो, वो करो, right? So people justify that, another thing. And then again, what we'll have to understand is the kind of pleasure that we receive from doing that is sense pleasure. It is not happiness. What we do is we mistake sense pleasure with happiness. That's our biggest mistake. We think by just feeling this sensual pleasure, which makes us think that we are happy. That's the goal of it. But you see, that doesn't last long, right? If it is happiness, then it should last long. But it's like I'm endeavoring so hard for such a long time. And then the sense pleasure, I get the sense pleasure. And there are two cases that it may happen. One thing is either you get it, but it is so temporary or so short lasting that we think, what is this? What happened? We are not satisfied by that. Or other case scenario is that we are endeavoring for it, but the endeavor is so hard that even though we get that pleasure, we don't think it as of significant. So both the scenarios, one is that you get it easily, right? Just for example, we can talk about any kind of, you can say, new gadget. For example, I took a new gadget. Okay. So I thought I'll be getting really happy. But after getting the gadget in my hands, so-called wait for the gadget, everything disappeared. Oh, now this is normal phone only. Okay, your phone and those stuff and keep it aside. So this is the endeavor. Endeavor so long. For me, I got it kind of quite easily. But just imagine someone who's aiming to buy a gadget which is out of his budget. He has to work so hard, and he works so hard, gets the gadget, and then he becomes disappointed. Both are kind of disappointment. But you see, what pains the most is when we endeavor for it. So you see, the more we try to enjoy, the more we are frustrated. The outcome of this is to understand this particular thing. The more we are trying to enjoy, the more we are bound to be frustrated or distressed. And whatever happiness that we see in this material world is actually distress, and distress is actually distress only. So there is no happiness. So happiness is distress and distress is distress. So are we trying to find it at the right place? All right. For example, there are two things. I'll just give you a practical example. So there was this one report, or you can say, they say war testimonies. War testimonies are there, different soldiers are there. So there is something known as post-traumatic disorder, So the soldiers who have fought in big wars, So what happens to them? They either lose one of their limbs or someone is very mentally affected. So they were interviewed, and they had such a traumatic experience. Such a traumatic experience. This is from USA we are talking about. So when you see here, there are so many soldiers in India also. This is this was shared by my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. He was talking with a devotee and he was asking who was that other devotee. He was into Indian Army. So he asked, these soldiers, they are experiencing these different syndromes, after the war. So what about the Indians? Do they also experience the same? So he said Indians, they don't experience these things. Why? Because their very outlook is different. Here, they were fighting in the war for their own sense gratification in order to be happy. Okay. Now they thought that if we win, we'll have a sovereignty over the another country. We'll go back, get big medals, and we'll be respected in the country. Our pay grades will be increased and everything. Their expectation was this. But when what happens is they lose a war. Along with the war, they are losing a limb. Along with that, they are losing their friends, comrades, you can say, a sense of camaraderie, and there is their self-respect also. So now they had so much to lose, but if you see an Indian soldier, he goes into the war for a single thought that he has to protect, hook or crook, whatever happens to me, but my job at this particular outstation is to protect this post, a particular construction there. I have to protect it, hook or crook, and so many great examples are there. Their very outlook is different to life. Similarly, our outlook is what? That we are the enjoyer. That's the very wrong mentality. That is what we'll have to understand. So who's the real enjoyer? Here the Lord is saying that I am the real enjoyer. Why? But his enjoyment doesn't exploit someone. His enjoyment is not like that. That if Lord is enjoying, that means the living entity is what? Is exploited. It's not like that. Or someone is hurt in his enjoyment, in his pursuit of enjoyment. It is not like that. When he enjoys, we also enjoy. It's just like, we are so much rebellious. We are so much rebellious that we can't see him. We can't stand to watch him enjoying. So our very pursuit, why what we want is we want a place which is filled with eternal pleasure and happiness, you can say, which is eternal and all pleasure. And that kind of world is already there. It's the spiritual world. There is a description, like Katha Ganam Natyam Apigavanam Priyasakhi, that there each and every word in the spiritual world is just like singing. When one is happy, what he does is he sings, he's humming something or another. And then their walk is just like dancing. They'll jump, they'll skip. You see small kids when they leave out of school, and I don't know, nowadays kids are in phone only. When at least when I was a kid, when I used to see a rice puddle, or right, not water puddle, जो हम लोग गड्ढे बोलते हैं. Used to walk, put the hands in your back strap so it becomes quite light, and then we jump in the water. It splashes and we become happy. Simple thing, but happiness for us. So you see, he's dancing. He's just dancing his way back home. But we'll have to dance our way back home plus one thing, back to Godhead. So that's the whole point. When we take up this process, when we accept that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, then we get this particular aspect. And it's just like there is an shloka from Kathopanishad, which states that it's just like the fingers, the hands are doing all the work, right? Now let's say if the hand is given, if all body parts are having their individual consciousness, so this particular hand will think, I am doing all the work, so let me enjoy. Okay, I'll enjoy. So then food stuff is there, but the hand is holding it. He is not supplying it to the mouth, right? So what will happen? Gradually, the limbs will become weak. The hand will also not be able to function. But now one may think, okay, so we have science, we have doctors, right? So let us go to doctors. So the doctors may analyze you. Okay, so what's happening? Oh, I'm feeling some weakness in my eyes. Okay, I have an injection ready. You put an injection in the eye. Okay, now what? My ear is also paining. So for each and every body part, so many injections, but no change, because that's not our real position, right? That is not how you are cured. But once you take that particle, or that food stuff, you feed it to the mouth, goes to the stomach, and nourishes each and every limb of the body, everyone is satisfied. Similarly, when we serve Krishna, we are satisfied through and through. We don't need this particular kind of different objects of happiness. Right now, that's what we are doing, just to fulfill the, you can say, what's the exact word, the void of a single thing. We are trying to fill it with so many multiple things, but we can't do it. Why? Because that void can only fill by Krishna. We may put each and everything. It's just like a puzzle. Have you all seen the puzzle? आप लोगों ने खेला होगा ना? So there's a piece in the puzzle. Okay, it's having a particular shape. So apart from that shape, I'm trying each and every shape, bewildered by illusion that this is the shape which it'll fit, because our eyes are covered. We are in ajnana. That's why we say, Om Ajnana Timirandasya. Because of this covering, we don't know what piece we are taking, where we are trying to fit it. Then I say it's not fitting, it's not fitting. That's the whole point. That is what we are kind of being frustrated by. So this very thing, this very nature is of that of a criminal, So we want to enjoy, but we might think, since the Lord is so merciful, He can take us in this particular position only back home, back to Godhead, right? But let's say if you go with this perverted mentality there in the spiritual world, so what we'll do? We'll just cause trouble over there, right? So what trouble we'll cause? We'll see some animal running, some chicken, some goat. I don't know. Nowadays in India also people are eating beef, right? You see Krishna's cow. Let us eat hamburger. You kill the cow, make hamburger. Kill the goat, make so many preparation. So what you're causing there is trouble. So why will he take us there? Similarly, in a society there are people who are rebellious, right? Who don't follow the government. So what's the facility that is created for them? Jail, Or let us be more sophisticated. A criminal cell. That's a facility, which is provided to them. So those kind of people are put there. All those who rebel. Similarly, this material world is what? It's a jail. And we are all here, the respected candidates of the jail. Why? What's the reason? The very kind of, you can say, the very sense of being the bhokta, of being the enjoyer. That is our sole qualification to stay here. And we are so much proud of it that even after knowing this, that this qualification is the very reason, is my admit card to be here in this material world, we are not giving that up. We are very proud of that identity. Oh, Bhoktaram. I'm kind of the enjoyer of this thing. So much proud. I want to enjoy. Let me lord it over. So that is the reason we are trying to exploit so much. And in this endeavor of exploiting, what is happening is that we're harming our own self. This is what we'll have to be really clear about. Now, then one may say then that, so this is happening. Lord, He doesn't want any disturbance in the spiritual world, because if we go there, we are going to harm His devotees, right? But still, the Lord personally comes here. He sends his pure devotee over here. Because Lord is Swarat, Lord is Atmaram, he is all happy, but his only happiness is that we are not there with him. That is his only unhappiness. There is no other unhappiness or cause of unhappiness to the Lord. You can say. No other cause. His only cause of unhappiness is we who are here illusioned and who are trying to enjoy these so-called material world, which is in itself illusion, right? Which is not, you can say, eternal, it's temporary. So illusion, it is not that it doesn't exist. The existence is temporary. That is what we'll have to understand. So he sends his devotee. He himself comes. He himself came actually. And you see, he's trying to bring us back home, back to Godhead. By getting us all to join in the Sankirtan movement. What is the Sankirtan movement now? Anyone who knows can raise their hand. What is the Sankirtan movement? We have heard the feminism movement, this movement, that movement. Anyone who knows what's the Sankirtan movement? Or is there any qualification, SC, ST, OBC, general, Brahmin? कौन लोग join कर सकते हैं इसको? Anyone? What is Sankirtan? They're having a department, but there are no Mridanga and Kartal in Sankirtan. किसी को पता नहीं संकीर्तन क्या? No one knows. हाँ? Taking the holy name. 50%. 50-50 biscuit. 50 you have got it. Sweet one you have got it. Salty one you have to tell. That's what he told, taking the holy name. हाँ. Spreading the holy name. What's the process? Your was 10 standard. His was 12 standard answer. Yes.
Engaging the other devotee together and
engaging along with other devotees. Yes, that's the perfect answer. It's, you can say, a congregational chanting of the holy name, wherein what we just did in the start, we started, that was Sankirtan. We all together, we all chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? Closing your eyes, raising your hands, not dancing, but we'll make you dance now after some time. So that is what Sankirtan is. What's the qualification? Any one of you? वहाँ बाहर बैठ के पूछा क्या क्या है आपका डिग्री है क्या? दिखाओ, एडमिट कार्ड दिखाओ, कहाँ रजिस्टर किया? बोला संकीर्तन, नहीं बोला. So what is the qualification? Only qualification is your desire, your sincere desire, without causing disturbance. मैं यहाँ पे हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र कर रहा हूँ, हमारे टेम्पल हॉल में होता है, फिर कुछ लोग आ जाते हैं, जय शिवाजी चिल्लाता है, कोई कुछ चिल्लाता है, बोलो माता रानी की जय. माता रानी है ही नहीं वहाँ पे. तो बहुत लोग आते हैं ऐसे ग्रुप में, they all create disturbance. So did any one of you all create any disturbance? No, no one created, right? You all followed what was going on. So the only qualification is that a sincere desire to chant the holy name. That's the only desire. Nothing rest. So I guess we'll stop here, right? We'll have to stop. Okay, so that is the whole point, that why are we suffering? The very reason of our suffering is we ourselves, right? Anyone who's not clear why the reason are we ourselves should introspect a little bit, and we try to hear the recording which is there, because if we kind of clarify again, one lecture will be there. So any questions? Anyone? कोई भी question आप लोगों का हो, we can entertain it. We have got 5 minutes, I guess, right? 5 minutes? Yes.
Like you said, but we all know like this is the reason, but still we are suffering. How can we overcome?
We know the reason, but still we are suffering. That is what you are telling, right?
We all know like our expectation or our things that is making us suffer for the things, but still we are unable to overcome it or reattach from it.
So it is just like, when you are severely diseased, so you go for diagnosis, right? You come to know the reason of it, right? आपको reason पता चल गया, and what is the disease, you get to know the disease, right? So just by knowing it, do you become cured? No, right? There is a particular therapy session. Doctor आपको एक time देता है, कुछ medicines देता है. Okay, you take this thing, okay, this medicine, and then you consume it, and then again next week aa jana wapas checkup ke liye. So you all are coming every week for checkup, yeah, taking the medicine, you know. Improvement is there. First session se abhi tak.
It is there, but still there's something.
Definitely, but not to that grade, right? Not to that grade. So the severe diseased person, you know, he is also not suffering from the first grade fever. धीरे धीरे reduce होगा, then we'll come to the healthy position or healthy condition. We shouldn't be too desperate. वरना too desperate होके क्या करेंगे? अरे यार ये डोज बोला है ना, 2 डोज लेना है इसका. Let me take 6. 6 डोज ले लेता हूँ. स्पिरिचुअल मेडिसिन में ऐसा नहीं है, ले सकते हैं. 16 की जगह 32 कर लेता हूँ, चलेगा. जल्दी हील करेगा, बैकफायर नहीं करेगा. But don't become fanatic. That's the whole point. You know, do it under guidance. Ask someone. Otherwise, what comes is pride comes before the fall. You might think, you know, I'm taking so much medicine, you know, I'm better than these patients. They are just taking 2 tablets. You know, I'm taking 6 tablets. Treat a patient. So much improvement. And then that might backfire. Like a rubber band, you're stretching, 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 boom, goes. So that's a good question, you know, that why are we suffering even though we know it? Now this time period, you know, it's different for everyone because we are suffering for so many lifetimes, all of us over here, including myself, you know. That's why in the whole lecture, I was addressing as we. I wasn't saying you, we, including myself. So that is what we'll have to understand. That it is different for each individual, but we have to be sure that the medicine is definitely working. By our past analysis, हम लोग जब आ रहे थे तब कैसे थे, जब स्टार्ट किया था ना, और आज हम कैसे हैं. And if you know one is unable to see any change, then what he should do, he should go back and see that along with the medicines, am I also following the diet? Like I'm having the medicines, but the doctor has also said what, that you don't have to eat oily stuff, fried stuff, you know, not this kind of fruit, not this kind of vegetable, no maida, stuff like that. Similarly, when we chant the holy name, what we recommend is to follow the 4 basic principles, which is no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex, right? And knowing the 10 offenses. So if you follow these things, right, you'll see gradual the improvement will be better, right? So it will help you, it will aid you in that particular pursuit to get cured. Okay, anyone else, any questions, or should I ask any question? Should I ask? So can anyone say, you know, why, what is the very reason that we are envious of Krishna? Envious of Krishna. Why are we envious of Krishna? Oh my God, same response when I asked, do you all have any questions? Huh? That we become jealous if we see someone, you know. Let's say you are my friend, okay? We both were doing time pass together and everything. But then what happens is the result comes out. Okay? I get 13%, you get 93%. Right? You're going to very big college, I'm going to Alpha somewhere. I become envious, you know, hey, मेरे साथ ही था, ऐसा करता था, ऐसा. मैं भी तो वही किया ना, क्या डिफिकल्ट. मेरे को सेम रिजल्ट क्यों नहीं मिला?
There is no other person to blame. That's why we generally blame God.
No, I'm not talking about blaming, you know, what's the reason of our enviousness practically, you know, why we are envious, you know, why only him, you know, some people say, why only him, why should we only worship Lord, or why should we offer everything to the Lord, you know?
But still, I think still we have that consciousness that is our father. Right? And so, for example, right, if you're not able to go to a very big college, prestigious college, right? If you're not financially stable or your parents are not stable.
No, that's an analogy. That's an analogy. Okay, analogy is something which we give for reference. If you go into specifics, you know, it will become a different topic. That's why I said, you know, as an analogy. It's an analogy. That's it. So it stops there. We don't use material to explain something which is spiritual. It becomes vice versa. Because in spirituality, everything else is included. But you can't say in matter, the spiritual is included. That's the underlying principle, That's why we explain it in that particular. His question was, what is the meaning of being envious to Krishna? Spiritual question. Okay. So I tried to boil it down to the material thing. So if you go in that particular aspect, there can be so many arguments, tarka, which we say. Right? So a simple one-liner, it will be better. If you want to condense it, just boil the milk. 4 liters, 1 liter, then there is 4 liters. In 4 statements, you can finish it. Something. Okay, he's the only one whom we can blame. He is the only one whom we can blame. So that's who's. That's why when we don't receive help from him, we blame. Right? Exactly. So we are envious. The reason being that we are illusioned, we are illusioned thinking that we are the enjoyer. So when we see him enjoying, we think, why can't I take that position? Why can't I be there, in his place, getting that particular enjoyment? But that's not the case, just like the hand, the hand wants to take the position of the mouth. He thinks, I'll just keep it to myself and I'll become more satisfied by doing this particular act. So that's the living entity's condition also. Okay. So now I guess we can end. If anyone is having any other question, that is last time. Otherwise, we are going to do something which is we just discussed. Okay. So before that, before our Sankirtan or Kirtan, which we are going to have dancing Kirtan, we'll be having a drama, short drama. Okay. So I guess we can call the drama team, right? Hare Krishna.